The Trump administration and the DOGE team came up with a way to get illegal aliens off of public benefits. Benefits like Medicaid, unemployment insurance, you name it. And these are people that the Trump administration has decided no longer should have any kind of legal status. Somehow, these illegal aliens under the prior administration got their own social security numbers. So the DOGE team figured out how to fix this. And because it works so well, the Daily Beast is mad. They say DOGE goons physically dragged Social Security worker from desk. He was a manager, he wouldn't cooperate, so at some point he had to go. And these weren't just illegal aliens. These were illegal aliens with criminal records from Newsweek. Migrants with criminal records got Medicaid benefits. I mean, at some point, they shouldn't have even been allowed into the country because of their criminal records, because of their history. But they were allowed in, and they were encouraged to have these benefits. And the battle over the benefits is you don't want to incentivize people to come to the country to be on public assistance, especially not illegally. And from the Daily Wire, why Trump is reclassifying illegals who were given Social Security numbers as dead. Many of the illegal aliens were receiving Medicaid benefits or other taxpayer-funded assistance programs, like unemployment. How are you going to take in the world's population and put them all on paid benefits for health, put them on unemployment? Who's going to pay for all this? It is fair to say this is a creative way to solve the problem, and they did rename the Death Master file into something like the Inactive User Database so they could put people in there who weren't actually dead. And so far, it seems like it's a great plan and it's working great. They're starting with these 6,000 people, but it looks like they're going to expand it to as many as 90,000 people. And the idea is to encourage self-deportation so that if you can't come here and get these benefits, maybe you go back to your own country and live legally there instead. From the Washington Post, Trump administration overrode Social Security staff to list immigrants as dead. A senior executive who objected was marched out of his office and put on leave, while earlier warnings about the agency's deaths database were ignored. 2 days after the Social Security Administration purposely and falsely labeled 6,100 living immigrants, illegal immigrants, as dead, security guards arrived at the office of a well-regarded senior executive in the agency's Woodlawn, Maryland headquarters. Greg Pierre, who oversaw a staff of hundreds of technology experts, had pushed back on the Trump administration's plan to move illegal immigrants' names into a Social Security death database, eliminating their ability to legally earn wages and, officials hoped, spurring them to leave the country, but also to claim benefits. In particular, Pierre had clashed with Scott Coulter, the new chief information officer installed by Elon Musk. Pierre told Coulter that the plan was illegal, cruel, and risked declaring the wrong people dead. But Pierre's objections did not go over well with Trump political appointees. His bosses, literally his bosses. That's who the Trump political appointees are. So on Thursday, the security guards in Pierre's office told him it was time to leave. They walked Pierre out of the building, capping a momentous internal battle over the novel strategy pushed by Musk's U.S. DOGE service and the Department of Homeland Security to add thousands of illegal immigrants ranging in age from teenagers to octogenarians to the agency's Death Master file. The data set is used by government agencies, employers, banks, and landlords to check the status of employees, residents, clients, and others. These are people that were declared not to have legal status any longer according to the government. So no, they should not be continuing to have legal status with Social Security numbers. It's that simple. The episode also followed earlier warnings from senior Social Security officials that the database was insecure and could be easily edited without proof of death, a vulnerability staffers say that the Trump administration has now exploited. Well, maybe you should have taken better care of the database. The warnings and Pierre's removal have not previously been reported. This account of how the Trump administration pushed Social Security to wrongly declare thousands of living illegal immigrants dead is based on interviews with 15 people, including current and former Social Security officials, many of whom spoke on the condition of anonymity. Experts in government, consumer rights, and immigration law said the administration's action is illegal. Labeling people dead strips them of the privacy protections granted to living individuals, and knowingly classifying living people as dead counts as falsifying government records, they said. This is in addition to the harm inflicted on those suddenly declared dead, who become unable to legally earn a living wage or draw benefits that they may be eligible for. Draw benefits, take money. Okay, we get it. Social Security itself has acknowledged that an incorrect death declaration is a devastating blow. So, it works. Quote, "This is an unprecedented step," said Devin O'Connor, a senior fellow on the federal fiscal policy team for the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. Quote, "The administration seems to basically be saying that they have the right to essentially declare people equivalent to dead who have not died. That's a hard concept to believe, but it brings enormous risks and consequences." The smart thing the administration did here was they simply said, look, we're going to rename the death file to inactive file. It's that simple. So if you want to complain that we're marking this person as dead, we're not anymore. Now it's just inactive. They were declared not legally in the United States by the federal government, so they can easily legally put them into a file that says inactive. If that status changes, then they can work on changing that status. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that by adding the illegal aliens' names to the death database, quote, "The Trump administration is protecting lawful American citizens and their hard-earned Social Security benefits and ensuring illegal immigrants will no longer receive such economic entitlements. Anyone who disagrees with the common sense policies of the administration can find another job." Even Greg Pierre. Officials at Social Security, which had gutted its press office after months of turmoil over declining services, did not respond to requests for comment. Yes, of course, they used to have their own fully staffed, massive publicity department just for Social Security. Staffers at Social Security began raising the alarm about the urgent need to address a flaw in the agency's deaths database in February. Anybody granted the appropriate permissions within Social Security could mark someone as dead, employees had realized, without having to prove their demise in any way, for example by referencing medical records or a death certificate. Social Security is incredibly important to millions and millions of people who have paid into the system for decades and decades. And this is how carefully they run the database. Like there's no way for them to control security of declaring someone dead. Just literally any random person who worked there, many people probably had the access to be able to declare someone dead. They could just do that. And we've also heard all the reporting about all the people who are over 100 years old that are collecting Social Security, or at least listed as still alive, some people more than 200 years old. And they explain that away by saying, oh no, we're not giving benefits to people that shouldn't be getting benefits. They just simply say, we just didn't get around to taking those people out of the database. Okay, sure, that's fine, but is anybody running anything professionally in the federal government, like whatsoever? Because it doesn't seem like it. It seems like it's deliberately left open for fraud. Employees' fear was partly that a bad actor who gained access to government credentials could label groups of living individuals as dead to target them for punishment. Some of those raising the alarm worried specifically that the Trump administration might try to use the database to go after people the president dislikes, the person said. Management indicated they were looking into the matter and exploring a proposed solution that would have required some additional proof of death before placing them into the death master file, but no solution was ever enacted because they never got around to it. Entry into the death master file has potentially severe consequences, effectively erasing a person's ability to live and draw wages in the United States, according to Jim Francis, a consumer law attorney. Francis, who recently sued Social Security for mistakenly labeling a Maryland woman dead, noted the agency sells its death information to creditors, pension companies, life insurers, and credit reporting firms. Quote, it's the source of data that the whole world uses, which is why, if it's inaccurate, it has such devastating impacts on people, according to Francis. Quote, overnight, you literally become financially paralyzed. Around the same time, Social Security staff were warning that the agency's powerful ability to declare deaths could be exploited. The Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. DOGE service arrived at the agency. Soon, representatives of both groups were hunting for ways to repurpose the agency's databases to identify and deport illegal immigrants. A staff of fewer than a dozen career employees was assigned to work with Musk's team on the project, according to a senior official who left the agency. Career employees were concerned they might be facilitating something illegal, asking themselves if they were at risk of going to jail for the work they were doing. By March, DOGE's focus on immigration issues was clear. DOGE representatives were asking a lot of questions about what kind of address, wage, and tax data they could access, and how that information could be used to determine citizenship status. And when you hear Elon Musk talk about what he's doing with DOGE, he usually refers back to, well, the president has this executive order. We all know there's been every chance possible to sue the executive branch over executive orders. So they can do that anytime they want to. But the purpose of DOGE is to do work based on what the executive order says from the president, who has the authority to say to do this stuff. One official chose to resign rather than remain involved in what he saw as an illegal attempt to repurpose the agency for immigration enforcement. That's his right. They can all resign. DHS agents spent much of February and March trawling through years of records in E-Verify, the Homeland Security Employment Verification Program, to identify potentially fraudulent Social Security numbers according to records. Agents then reached out to Social Security asking for help preventing this type of fraud. Homeland Security also requested that Social Security staff turn over the addresses of undocumented immigrants or illegal aliens so Immigration and Customs Enforcement could track them down for deportation. It was not the first time that Trump officials sought to make Social Security hand over some of the government's most sensitive personally identifiable information to facilitate deportations. During Trump's first term, a White House aide requested the names and Social Security numbers of employers thought to have hired illegal aliens. At the time, the General Counsel's office at Social Security said no. They determined such a search would be a fishing expedition and would break the law, so the issue was dropped. However, this time around, they didn't try to pull that on the administration. In recent weeks, Homeland Security's requests shifted. Immigration agents began meeting with DOGE representatives at the agency to discuss how they could achieve their larger goal of pushing out tens of thousands of illegal aliens that ICE was struggling to apprehend and deport, according to an official. That request soon morphed into the idea of placing immigrants into the deaths database. Leland Dudek, the acting commissioner who was elevated from a low-level position after displaying public loyalty to the DOGE, but even he had qualms about the task, which if I was at Social Security, I would feel the same way. I would be nervous about it. I would talk to the other people there. I would be concerned, are we legally allowed to do this or not? And that's where you get a legal opinion. Then on Monday, Dudek signed 2 memorandums with Kristi Noem allowing the database action. So you've got approval from the top of the agency. No problem. The next day, 6,100 mostly Hispanic names and their attached Social Security numbers were added to the Death Master file. The White House told the Washington Post that the roughly 6,100 illegal immigrants have links to either terrorist activity or criminal records. Here's someone they need to fire, and they need to fire them kind of right away. Within Social Security, the General Counsel's office supposedly is preparing an opinion that will find the Trump administration's unprecedented use of the death database a violation of privacy law, according to one person with knowledge of the upcoming declaration. Legal opinions are important, so if somebody at the actual agency is going to create a legal opinion saying that this action was illegal, they really need to figure out who that person is or just kind of wipe them all out before that happens. It doesn't help the cause if you've got someone on staff who's not supporting what the agency is doing. In the meantime, you know you've got a lot of people that are trying to sabotage the administration, and you can come up with a legal opinion to support doing this very easily. And you could also come up with an opinion to attack doing this very easily. All it really takes is an attorney on one side politically or the other. But we do have political leadership that is the President of the United States, and if the President of the United States is okay with it, that's the case that they should be making. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.